Chapter 5, Part 2. Astronomy. Before we start this chapter, you are requested to subscribe to this channel and like this video. We need your support to run this channel and bring great audiobooks for you. Thank you. Let's come back to the book contents. A natural outgrowth from the Muslim development of advanced mathematics was work in the astronomical field. Formulas and methods developed by Muslim mathematicians laid the foundation for the study of the stars, while Islamic belief provided the motivation. Numerous verses in the Quran allude to the heavenly bodies and their movement. Regarding the sun and the moon, the Quran states they move by precise calculation. Furthermore, it states that through the stars, mankind can be guided by them through the darkness of the land and sea. For an empire of faith that stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to India, allusions in the Quran to the mathematical nature of the heavens were too much to ignore. With the Quran as a motivating factor, Muslim astronomers were the first to truly develop this science. In ancient times, astronomy and astrology were one and the same, leading to erroneous scientific beliefs about the impact of the stars on the daily lives of humans. Muslims were the first to separate the science of astronomy from the guesswork and mythology of astrology. With the patronage of Al-Mamun and the House of Wisdom, astronomers were collected to study the ancient theories of Ptolemy, whose work was seen as final word on astronomy until Muslim times. The key aspect of Ptolemy's ideas was the geocentricity of the universe, that the earth is motionless and everything revolves around it. This motionless theory of the earth started to come into question when Muslim astronomers realized that the calculations Ptolemy put forth for the movement of planets and stars were flawed and needed correction. While many simply created more accurate formulas, some began to question Ptolemy altogether. In the 11th century, Al-Biruni proposed that Ptolemy never fully proved that the earth does not move in a scientific way, and that it may in fact spin on its axis. According to him, this would explain why Ptolemy's calculations were off, since he did not take into account the earth's motion. While the rotation of the earth was never fully accepted by Muslim astronomers due to lack of definitive evidence, it was certainly debated among the scholars of the Muslim world. These debates found their way into Europe, specifically through Latin translations of the works of Al-Mazriti, an Andalusian scholar who focused on revising and perfecting astronomical tables and calculations. Even after his death, the learned classes from all over Europe would travel to the Muslim state in Iberia to study the works of Al-Mazriti and others. Eventually, as the Muslim ideas on astronomy disseminated throughout the continent, scientists such as Copernicus and Galileo would build upon them to come up with the theories that we accept as fact today. Unlike European astronomers, however, Muslims would not be harassed by the religious establishment for their views. Scientific endeavors were seen, after all, as a form of worship. Like algebra, astronomy would have its practical applications. One of the most important was the development of the Astrolabe. An instrument first invented by the ancient Greeks, its purpose was to determine one's latitude by using the stars. It combined the capabilities of the astrolabe with the more precise astronomical calculations of Muslim scientists and became a staple of navigation, particularly by ship. By holding up an astrolabe at the night sky to calculate the position of certain constellations, a navigator could determine his precise location and compare that with accessible handbooks that listed the latitudes of known locations throughout the world to help set course to a destination. Traveling to Mecca for the pilgrimage thus became much easier for Muslims traveling long distances. For a civilization that stretched from Spain to India, technology such as this, which made travel easier, was indispensable. The astrolabe revolutionized sailing and was in use until the 1700s as the standard for navigation. Geography. Just as astronomy grew out of mathematics, geography grew out of astronomy. Few empires in history spanned an area the size of the Muslim world in the Golden Age. With a generally unified political system extending across such a wide area, long-distance travel became safe and relatively common. It is no wonder, then, that Muslims would emerge as some of the leading geographers of the Middle Ages. The old myth that Christopher Columbus discovered that the earth is round is just that, a myth. It had in fact been accepted since ancient times that the earth was not flat. Sailors were particularly aware, since they could see the lower part of a boat descend under the horizon before its masts as it sailed away. The ancient Greeks even attempted to calculate the size of the earth, although they grossly underestimated the size of the Atlantic Ocean, leading to a much smaller number than the Earth's actual size. Geographers working in the Abbasid Caliphate came to much more accurate conclusions. Using trigonometry and spherical geometry, they calculated that the Earth is 12,728 kilometers in diameter. They were off by a mere 37 kilometers. Furthermore, they calculated the Earth's circumference to be 39,968 kilometers, when in actuality it is 40,074 kilometers. Without modern satellites and telescopes, these calculations can only be described as astounding. During the 1300s, Bin Battuta, a scholar of Islamic law from Morocco, traveled over 170,000 kilometers. His journeys included West Africa, India, China and Southeast Asia. Islamic geography was not limited solely to calculations of the Earth's size. Great effort was also put into mapping the world. Ancient Greek maps, particularly Ptolemy's, were expanded upon and improved. One of the best examples is the atlas made by Muhammad al-Idrisi, who lived in 12th century Sicily. Although Sicily had previously been part of the Muslim world until its conquest by the Normans in the late 11th century, the reigning king in al-Idrisi's time, Roger II, was a tolerant and well-informed sovereign. Under his patronage, al-Idrisi produced a world map unrivaled in its accuracy and detail in the Middle Ages. For hundreds of years afterwards, it was the benchmark by which other maps were judged. It was not only a drawing of the physical geography of the known world, but it also included descriptions of the cultures, politics, and societies of the various regions to which explorers had traveled. Just as fascinating to Muslim geographers as the known world was what was unknown. Western mythology holds up Christopher Columbus as the great explorer who was the first to brave the vast Atlantic Ocean to discover the New World in 1492. Besides narratives of his discovery discounting the fact that natives had been living there for centuries, and that there is very strong evidence that Vikings ventured to what is now Canada in the 10th century. There is mounting evidence of Muslim transatlantic voyages hundreds of years before Columbus. In the mid-10th century, the great geographer and historian Al-Masudi wrote of a voyage from Muslim Iberia in 889 that sailed west from the port of Delba, the same port from which Columbus would sail, for months until it happened upon a very large, previously unknown landmass. His account states that they traded with the locals and then returned home. Al-Masudi's world map even includes an unknown land across the Atlantic Ocean because of this account. Another account is recorded by al-Idrisi, who wrote that a group of Muslim sailors ventured for 31 days across the Atlantic Ocean and landed on an unknown island. They were taken captive by the local natives, but eventually freed when one of the natives who spoke Arabic was able to mediate between the two groups and arrange for their release. A final report of a transatlantic voyage comes from Mali, the Muslim kingdom in West Africa that peaked in the 14th century. As told to Bin Battuta, the great Muslim traveler, 200 ships sailed west from the coast of Africa to discover the unknown. When only one returned, it reported they had found land across the ocean but had to turn back because of a storm. The king of Mali, Mansa Abu Bakr, reportedly outfitted 2,000 ships this time, sailed with them into the Atlantic Ocean, and was never heard from again. These stories of Muslim voyages across the ocean are certainly not definitive proof of transatlantic contact before Columbus. But the fact that they are recorded by geographers known for their insistence on accuracy, coupled with allusions to Muslim communities in the Americas found in the journals of the first generation of European explorers of the New World, point to possibilities which could entirely rewrite the accepted history of the Age of Discovery.